Good morning. Today we are working on packet number 5 that is due on December 17th. So, page 1. Les, Quinn, Sherry, and Nate share a box of pencils equally. Quinn then shared all of the pencils he got equally with 5 other friends. If Quinn and each of his friends got 3 pencils, how many pencils were in the box? I'm going to tell you there's mathy ways to do this, but ever since I learned how to do it using the bar model, that's where my brain always goes. So I look at it and say, okay, here's my box of pencils. Les, Quinn, Sherry, and Nate share that box equally, so that's 4 people. So I divide my box into 4 equal parts. Then Quinn shared all of the pencils he got equally with 5 other friends. So let's say this is Les, Quinn, Sherry, and Nate. Quinn shares it with himself and 5 other friends. So how many am I going to divide this box into? Camilla? 6. Because it's him and 5 friends, so I share it with 6 people. If Quinn and each of his friends gets 3 pencils each, so each of those is 3. This section, we now can figure out how many pencils there are in it. And each of these sections are all equal parts. So you can do the math to figure out how many pencils all together. So you can figure out one section, and we know that there are 4 equal sections with that amount. So you can do the math to multiply up for it. Our second page is a little bit more confusing. Hannah gave Jane as many books as Jane had already. When Jane received these books, she asked Hannah how many books she had left. Jane then gave this number of books back to Hannah. Hannah then gave Jane back as many books as Jane had left. This left Hannah without any books and Jane with 80 books. So we had Hannah and Jane. At the end, Hannah had 0 and Jane had all 80. How many books did they start with? So we have to work backwards. So if Hannah gave Jane as many books as Jane had left, and we know that resulted in Jane getting 80, how many did she have before she had 80? If it got doubled with what Jane gave her. Claire? 40. We know there are 80 books total. So if Jane had 40, how many did Hannah have, Amala? 40. So I took care of this. So now I'm going to go backwards again. Jane gave this number of books to Hannah. So Jane asked Hannah how many books she had left, and she gave that number of books to Hannah. So again, if Jane is giving her the number of books to double, and she ended up with 40, what would Hannah have had to have, Eleanor? Yeah. So if Hannah had 20, how many did Jane have, Eleanor? 60. So that puts us here. We still have to go back one more time. So there, we have to go back all the way back to here to figure out what they started with. So you have to keep working backwards that same way. I'm not going to write it all out for us because you got to do some of the math yourself. Okay? Then we have our 5-card challenge. We have to equal 10. We've been doing pretty good with those. Our pattern page, complete the table. So let's look at what we have so far. In figure 1, there were 3 blue and 12 red, which gives us 15 total. Figure 2, there are 6 blue and 14 red, which gives us 20. Figure 3, there are 9 blue, 16 red, which gives us 25. And figure 4, there are 12 blue, 18 red, which gives us 30. You need to complete the rest of the table. Oh my goodness. Easy, easy patterns to find here. Okay? So, complete the patterns for each of those columns. This one's not a tricky one. Whew, it's going into Christmas, the holiday. Whew, craziness is on us. He gave us some easy patterns to follow. All right. For this goofy shape, to find the perimeter, remember we find the perimeter of the rectangle, adding all those sides up. Then we have to find the perimeter of that half circle. The perimeter of a circle is called the circumference. To find that, remember it's 2 times pi times r. R is the radius. That's the middle to the outside. So we need to figure out what that diameter is. There's 1 centimeter and 2 centimeters plus the diameter equals 7 centimeters. Then we have to cut it in half for the radius. Remember, when we find that circumference, it's a semicircle, so we divide it by 2. Then to find the area, you're going to find the area of the rectangle and the area of a circle. Remember, the area of a circle is pi times r squared. I had somebody who did radius times 2. It's not radius times 2, it's radius squared. So we want to make sure we're squaring that. Then we're going to remember it's a semicircle, half circle, so we divide it by 2, and we add it to the area of the rectangle. Our next page is a cylinder. Did we have a cylinder in our last packet? Or is this the first time we've had a cylinder? First time? Okay, so to draw that net of the cylinder, we have that main body. This part looks like a rectangle. And we have our circles. So when we curl up that rectangle, we can flip down the circles right on top of it. Then we have that radius, and we have our height. Now to find the surface area, we have, I'm going to write it up here. We have a formula for the surface area of a cylinder. It's 2 times pi times the radius times the height plus our 2 circles. So this part is telling me this area. Then we have our 2 circles. So 2 times pi r squared. So it's the area of a circle times 2 because there's 2 circles. So we use that formula to find our surface area. For this page, the formula for the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared times the height. So you put your numbers from over here in, you multiply it all together for our volume. Then we need to answer the pre-algebra question. There are 300 milliliters of water which fill the cylinder 50%. So if I have my cylinder here and there's 300 milliliters of water, that puts me at 50%. That's halfway, and that's 300 milliliters. How much water is needed to fill it to 7/8 full? So I want to break that cylinder into 8 sections. Half of 8 I know is 4, so I know that there's 4 down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 up here. So 4 sections is 300 milliliters. So to find out what 1 section is, we take that 300 milliliters and we do what, Claire?
Divide by 4.
Divide by 4. That would tell us 1 section. There are 7 sections that we need. So figure out the math that we have to do to go from 1 section to 7 sections to figure out how much is in 7/8 of our cylinder. And the next page is one of those logic pages, crossing off and figuring out who does which magazine writing. I think they're magazines, blogs. Sorry, who does which blog. Our next one, we see that there's something for algebra, there's questions for geometry. So I do want you to read through what is a possibility diagram. It is extra credit. See if you can figure it out. Okay. We don't have to do this one, but will it help us learn about probability? You bet. It's not that hard. And you get an extra credit point. If you actually read through what is a possibility diagram, create the possibility diagram that you would need for algebra, you can figure out that answer. It didn't take me that long to do it. So I highly recommend we challenge ourselves. And our back page is our polyominoes. We know how to do those. Okay, just sliding them over, not turning, not flipping. Right, and that is our packet number 5 that is due next week, Tuesday, on the 17th. If you're watching this at home, I hope you are well, and I hope you have a wonderful day.